Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some Pittsburgh Steelers preview and prediction of this Week 17 game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore 10-5, Pittsburgh 7-8. Obviously, Pittsburgh fighting for a playoff spot, just one remaining up for grabs in the wild card race, and Pittsburgh could be eliminated before kickoff even begins. But let's talk about what to watch for in this game. Just to give a one-sentence synopsis of how Pittsburgh could be eliminated before kickoff, if the Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots, the Steelers will be mathematically eliminated from postseason play. And so that is the one thing that cannot happen. The Seahawks beating the Jets would also be ideal, but not required. But we'll talk about that, and hopefully there'll be a conversation still after Sunday night's game. So, with the Ravens, really not much has changed. It's still the same Ravens from week number 14, still Tyler Huntley at quarterback, still a run-heavy approach. Certainly, though, and it's intuitive and it's obvious, with Lamar Jackson being out officially ruled out on Friday, this offense has really struggled, and I mean struggled. They're averaging 11.5 points per game since week 13 when Jackson got hurt pretty early in that one. Those 11.5 points rank last in football. They're among the worst teams in the red zone on third down, and really have just one low-scoring affair. 16-14 against Pittsburgh, 10-9 against Denver, 17-9 against Atlanta, and they lost to the Browns 13-3. So they are 3-1 since Jackson's been hurt, but they've really won these low-scoring affairs. Kind of a similar situation as Pittsburgh. You're trying to win as low-scoring games as possible, but their run game's their bread and butter, and you have J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards as their top two backs. It's a gap scheme. They have a variety of different, runs, jet runs with receivers and some quarterback power along the goal line and in third and in short yardage situations, but it's really a run-first identity. And so Pittsburgh will have to be better about getting off of blocks, and they didn't miss many tackles in that first game. They just simply didn't get off blocks to make the tackles and force Minka to have 11 or 12 in that contest. I expect Pittsburgh to have some different schematic wrinkles. I think Mark Robinson expected to dress this weekend and should play in that 4-4 defense with four down defensive linemen to Marvin Leal, the fourth guy, and then Robinson subbing in for Devin Bush on the field next to Robert Spillane or potentially Miles Jack, but Spillane is how it was when they unveiled that against Carolina 2 weeks ago. So I think you'll see some of that. But frankly, it just has to be better execution. I think Larry Ogunjobi's a big piece in this game. The nose tackle play has to be better as well. Montravius Adams especially played well against the Raiders, has to play better. But frankly, that whole front seven was just terrible, including Cam Hayward, including the TJ Watt Highsmith. Everybody was below the line against Baltimore Week 14. That can't happen again. We'll see what schematic wrinkles there are, but it is just all about stopping the run. Not in the sense that the Ravens are going to run the ball. They're going to probably get 100 yards in this game, but you can't allow 215, 44-yard runs, the big explosive things where they're controlling the ball and they're running out the clock. Those things you have to avoid. Ravens pass game, obviously not nearly the threat. Tyler Huntley, mobile, and he has to be accounted for his scrambling ability, his running ability, but doesn't run at the rate Lamar Jackson does. Gets the ball out much quicker. Lamar Jackson has the third longest snap-to-throw time in football at 3 seconds. Huntley is considerably quicker than that. Mark Andrews a threat. Bender routes in the red zone. Isolated 3-by-1 backside against maybe linebackers or you try to roll down a safety. Those are matchups they like. Really haven't had much at receiver, especially with Devin Duvernay, Rashad Bateman being injured. They're both out for the season, will not play. Demarcus Robinson, though, formerly of the Chiefs, has come on strong, really become Huntley's favorite target, has 19 receptions. All quick game, all short stuff. He's averaging under 7 yards per reception since week 13, but that's the one guy to look for. Again, it's quick game, it's in the flats, it's some of the boot game, and then Andrews a bit downfield is kind of their pass game philosophy. Defensively for Baltimore, there are some injuries, some pretty key ones in cornerback Marcus Peters, who has been ruled out, and defensive lineman Calais Campbell, who was so impactful in that Week 14 game, especially with that blocked field goal that he had. He is questionable. He had a knee injury in the Browns game, missed the Falcons game, missed the first 2 days of practice this week, and then was in a limited fashion practicing on Friday. He's officially questionable, so I don't know what his status is. My guess is, if you made me guess, I would say he doesn't go, but I'm not as in tune to those things as I am in Pittsburgh, so we'll have to wait and see. But if he's out, That's still a good defensive line. It's still a really good defense overall, especially that front seven. But hopefully there can be a bit more running room for the Steelers offense that certainly needs it. It's still hard to think about what run scheme works best against Baltimore. I think just really up the middle, A gap, B gap, not trying to run things to the perimeter is going to be the ticket. Basically wanting to avoid negative plays. You don't want to be in that second and third and long situations when the Ravens will start to dial up their blitzes and get a bit more creative. But yeah, if this offensive line can win at the point of attack, maybe make life a bit tougher on their really talented inside backers and Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith and those guys, they just don't come off the field. It's not even a dime backer thing. I mean, both those guys are playing 90% of the snaps over the last 3 games, and so they're on the field in all situations, in all circumstances. So hopefully their life's a bit tougher this game than it was in the first matchup. Even without Marcus Peters, still a really strong secondary overall. Marlon Humphrey, a top-tier corner that does a great job to punch the football out. He had a forced fumble against Atlanta in that one. He had 8 forced fumbles back in, I think it was 2020 to lead the NFL. You got some great safeties. Marcus Williams picked off Trubisky that first matchup. You got Kyle Hamilton, the rookie, Geno Stone, Chuck Clark. It's a really impressive group overall. They're more zone-based on early downs. It's a variety of 2 high looks, cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, maybe a little bit less cover 3, but they spin their safeties well. They create different pictures post-snap, and that's expected with a talented and more or less veteran group overall. So Kenny Pickett will have to be ready for that. Obviously, barely played in that first matchup, getting knocked out after throwing 1 pass after that a play there by Roquan Smith. So dealing with the post-snap rotation will be key on 3rd down and 3rd and long. The Ravens will go more man coverage. They will start to show more sim pressure, and you have to battle that. But frankly, that's become pretty commonplace in the NFL. Last but not least, special teams. And while Justin Tucker and Chris Boswell's numbers don't look as sparkling as they normally do in close games that are usually decided within the final 5 minutes, last possession type stuff, that's how it was in the first meeting, kickers can often become very important. And so that's one, obviously, to talk about. One thing I do want to mention, I know it's such a... It may feel like a minor point, but Marcus Allen being out is actually a big concern to me. Allen on IR with a bicep injury. I know there's the jokes about the Panthers game, the very dumb and foolish penalty he took, and no question about that. But he's the starting up back on the punt team. That's the personal protector, the quarterback of that unit, and he's no longer in that role. In the backup Trey Norwood, at least he was the backup during the summer, he's out as well with a hamstring injury. So they're on their 3rd string up back, whoever that may be. I think it'll be Jalen Warren. That's how they were doing it in training camp, and he's probably a good man for the job. But anytime you're on your 3rd string anything, it's a concern. You can bet Harbaugh, a former special teams coordinator, is going to go after that. So how well can you protect on punts? Not you don't want to punt a lot, obviously, but odds are you probably will have to do so a couple times in this game. That's going to be a personal worry for me. So all of that out of the way, my prediction really wrestled with this one, to be honest. But I'm going Pittsburgh 17, Baltimore 16. I just don't see the Ravens running for 215 again. That offense has really struggled without Lamar Jackson. Again, 11.5 points per game since Jackson's been hurt. I don't see Pickett throwing 3 critical back-breaking interceptions the way that Trubisky did in relief of Kenny Pickett in that first matchup. And I just think Pittsburgh will find a way. But always close, always tight games, come down in the final minutes, and you just never know what's going to happen. But I got Pittsburgh over Baltimore. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know your score prediction, and will Pittsburgh still have playoff life exiting this weekend? Again, short summary here. Dolphins lose, Steelers win. That means they will have life, and it would also be very helpful if Seattle beat the New York Jets. And so those are the games to watch, the early games, Jets, Seahawks, Dolphins, Patriots, before the nightcap between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll recap the game for you afterwards. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and we'll talk to you soon.